Hey everybody, it is Sunday evening, 8:30 on the dot. I'm on time. Only because I set the time to 8:30 and not 8, like I start off with. 8:30 on the dot. Doing great. I hope you had a great week. I had a fantastic week. Elephant in the room wasn't here last week. I don't know if you know this, but Labor Day was last week. I didn't know that the week before, so I was be like, "Hey, tune in next Sunday at 8:30." No idea there was a holiday. I don't pay attention to things like that. Thought about going live, was like, no, let's take a break. There's too much going on anyway. So the cool thing about having a podcast is you can be inconsistent and doesn't matter because it's your show. And no one fired me. And so I'm back here. I'm back here Sunday night, Sunday evening. We're gonna hang out, we're gonna have fun. I don't know how many I don't know how long I'm gonna go tonight, and I don't know how many jokes I got. Because I didn't have any morning joke clips. So I only got a few clips that we're gonna take a look at. But I do have a topic I want to talk about. And it's talking about all politics aside. How you like I did that title? That's because I think the red and blue thing, the vote red, vote blue, that tribalism thing is starting to look a little wonky to the culture around us. And we're gonna talk about that. But before we do that, go ahead and like and subscribe, you jabronis, because you love this podcast. You hate it when I miss a weekend, and I apologize. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about why I missed, not just because it was Labor Day, but some of the things I've been working on. We're going to get into that later. But until then, like and subscribe. Tell your friends, share this wherever you're watching this. Get the word out. But also, if you're like, dude, this podcast is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life, you can also go to pardonwill.com. Here's my website. If you go here, let's pick some. Maybe you're like, I've seen his art. His art's crap, but what about his merch? Well, guess what? The art is on the merch, ruining everything. But anyway, you're like, no, I do like his art. His art's pretty cool. Let me go check out his merch. You can go to pardonwill.com, click the merch button. Maybe you're a Doctor Who fan. You're like that bad wolf painting in the background that the light glares off of that I can't see. He slapped that thing on a shirt. So you can go there and you can purchase a shirt, get all different sizes. There's different things. I got all kinds of cool shirts on here. Gonna be adding more as soon as I get a handle on all of the spinning plates that I have going on. So anyway, appreciate you guys checking that out. Just go there and peruse. You're bored at work, and you just got to fill your time in. Go to pardonwill.com, support the podcast. All right, guys. So tons of big news this week. Every week it feels like there's big news. It's going to be like that all the way up to election year. And I hate to tell you this, probably election the date November 5th. I think it's the date. Remember that date. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna stay busy after that. I don't think things are gonna settle down. So I'll be here. Hopefully they do. As much as I love talking about politics, something I'm extremely well versed in, I do miss talking about some of the other fun stuff. But Star Wars hasn't dropped a terrible show, so I can't rag on that. I mean, it did, but that was short lived, and they're not coming back with it. I did watch first thing. I might talk about this at the podcast too. At D3, Star Wars is dropping a new series, and I think it's a series. I don't think it's a movie, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So we're going to talk about that right off the bat before we get into any politics. It's called The Skeleton Crew. If you haven't seen that trailer, we're not going to play because I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube Live for playing it. But great trailer. So it looks like Star Wars and the Goonies came together and made a fantastic, fun, family wholesome film. It's got Jude Law. Who doesn't like Jude Law? Watson himself. That's the only thing I remember Jude Law from is being Watson with RDJ. So Watson's joining. Well, I guess that's not. Well, either way, it doesn't matter. He's a Jedi. He looks cool. All the kids are going on adventures. You get to see Suburbia, Star Wars Suburbia. That's fun. And I like that. So I think Andor did a great job because it took a whole section of Star Wars. And they're like, I know you guys like them Skywalkers with their laser swords. We're going to show you a whole different thing. We're going to go into like political espionage. And we're not even going to bring up lightsabers. And people are like, oh, this is going to tank. Wrong. Wrong. It was great. It was great. So you can actually take Star Wars, the universe, tell other stories that don't have to involve really crappy plot lines and space witches and weird stuff like that. You can just tell a cool story. Anyway, I think they're doing that with the Skeleton Crew. If you have not seen it, go watch that trailer. Get stoked, because it definitely looks like. I mean, they could have just took Goonies. I mean, let's be honest. Star Wars, from what we know, the original George Lucas was like, I got to make a film. Dune is a pretty cool book. Let's just turn that into a space adventure. And then Dune was like, well, hey, we're going to make a movie too. And so now we got 2 Star Warses. One was, out first, best dressed. So that one's the most famous. I'm going to be honest, guys, never read or watched the Dunes. And I don't feel like I need to because I got Star Wars. So I'm not going to watch Dune. Could, but I'm not going to. Because Star Wars came out. And I was like, I don't need more sand. Who needs more sand? Not me. Anyway, so Skeleton Crew looks great. Check out the trailer. We're probably gonna be talking about that. I'm also planning on talking about Agatha Harkness. That's the next Marvel thing coming out. It's spooky season. Don't know if you guys know this. We're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna give you my little quips at the beginning or the end of a live. And just tell you what I think about that. Hopefully they didn't go. Now I know I just ragged on space witches in Star Wars, but that came out of nowhere, and we're like, wow, we already got a whole universe. We don't need more witches. Why are we bringing Space Force witches into this thing? And it really pissed a bunch of people off. Agatha, witches were already in Marvel, so it's not like they're dropping anything new on us. And so I'm gonna watch that. To be honest, I don't think it's gonna be any good. But I did love WandaVision, and so maybe it's the same person. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Agatha Harkness, that thing's coming out. And a bunch of other cool pop culture stuff. We got Beetlejuice. That's going to be a fun one. Am I a Racist? That seems pretty spooky. The Daily Wire's putting out Am I a Racist movie. That one's kind of scary. Definitely going to want to watch that in the theaters. We shall see. Find out if I'm a racist. That'll be fun. I'll have to talk about that on the podcast. Sorry, guys. You've been watching a racist the whole time. No, I don't know. I do look like Matt Walsh. I'm just slightly funnier. Someone tag him in this. Anyway, that's enough on pop culture stuff. So back to pop culture. No, I'm joking. So while I was gone, we got a bunch of cool stuff happening with the RFK. We talked about that. And then Tulsi, immediately after, Tulsi came out and she was like, I'm all in support for Trumpsters. And people were like, oh my gosh, Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat senator, right? I think, from Hawaii, but she's been dibbling. She went off into being an independent. I think she talked to Joe Rogan too many times, and all of a sudden she's coming out support for old Trumpy boy. But then we also got Elon Musk, which we saw that one coming. We just were like, is he going to stay apolitical? Is he going to come? Is he going to join the team? Is he going to come on out? And he came all out. And then RFK posted this insane picture, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to tell you about it. But he basically took, I think he said the Justice League. He was like, Wonder Woman has joined the Justice League. And I was instantly, oh man, that sucks. Because I'm not a DC's fun. Other than Batman, there's a few other DC characters that I like. Not a big, Marvel's just my jam. And then someone came out and was like, well, there's the Marvel Avengers Assemble. And it had Trump as Captain America, and you had Tulsi, Elon, and Vivek off in the background. And I don't know, Vivek's a Republican, but he kind of seems a bit libertarian, so that's kind of cool. And RFK. So you got this whole coalition of these ex-Democrats, sort of libertarians, joining the Trump team. And it seems like something was stirring. It's like, what does this mean? And we're going to talk about what that means, what I at least think it means, added on to what I've said before. But then we have a few other things that are popping up recently. And I thought, should we do an episode? I was like, should I do an episode where we talk about this Avengers Assemble thing? All these Democrats coming over and betraying the Democrat Party and joining on Trump. And I was like, we should talk about it because we got some other stuff happening. But I thought we'd start off with a fun clip because not only part of the Avengers, right? And the reason why I like the Avengers Assemble thing is because during the RNC, I personally couldn't shut up about Hulk Hogan. So they even got the Hulk. They got an actual Hulk in the Avengers Assemble. Anyway, we got joined by another guy. So check out this clip. We're going to watch it real quick. It's a video of a thing. We're just going to...
He used to come watch you wrestle all the time. Madison Square Garden. It was great. First time I saw him, he said, let me see the eyebrow. I said, got it, there it is.
Not that hard,
That's cool.
Eyebrow thing.
So he was a fan. He watched you as a fan. Oh, he was, yes. Yeah. That's cool. He used to come to Madison Square Garden all the time. Big spoilers. Whether you love Donald, you don't love Donald, it doesn't matter. What tried to assassinate him? There's no room for that. And yes.
Let's pause it. All right, so there's an applause after that, but you have to understand he's being interviewed by Patrick Bet-David, which is just he's supposed to be somewhat of an apolitical business guy, has his own podcast too, but we all know he's leaning right wing. And I don't know if it's because most business people are like, yeah, this communism is not good for, it's bad for business. And so maybe that's why old Patrick Bet-David, I have a hard time saying his name. I don't know if you guys do too. Every time I try to pronounce his name, I feel like Biden. It's rough. Anyway, he's being interviewed. He's interviewing The Rock. Now, on top of Hulk Hogan, we're like, well, that's enough wrestlers for this. We got The Rock coming in. He's not necessarily saying, he's like, I'm voting for Trump. But he is saying something very, very, I think, is something that's being echoed by every one of these Democrat or mainstream kind of people. We're going like, hey, I don't know if it's, I don't know if we're supposed to hate this guy as much as everyone's telling us to be, especially. And he did the one thing that Jack Black didn't do, which I think is, hold on, I'm getting too deep into the weeds real quick. So they tried to assassinate him, and that's not cool. He said that, and there was an applause. And it was like, hey, is it okay that we come out? Like, is it okay for mainstream people to be like, hey, they tried to kill that Trump guy, and that's not good? Because it seemed like most people kept their mouth shut, except for like Jack Black and his Kyle Gass. It seems like, and then after the Kyle Gass thing happened, and they shut all their shows down, I wonder if people just took a step back. And the funny thing is the Minecraft movie the trailer just dropped, which means The Rock was on set. Wait, is The Rock in that? I think The Rock is in that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Chat's open, so you guys can talk to me. Tell me if The Rock. I think The Rock. I caught a glimpse of the trailer and I was instantly not interested. So I think he was in. Either way, he was in Jumanji, the new remake with old Jack Black. And so I wonder if they had a conversation. And the thing I like about this is because he's really just coming out, not saying anything crazy. He's not like, Trump 2024, guys, let's roll. He's just saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't hate this guy that much. Maybe it's okay. Just, yeah, I'm a fan. He's a fan of mine. I'm not mad at him. He likes to come to my Madison Square Garden show. Like, yeah, it's Trump. It's not a big deal. So keep that in the back of your mind. And you're like, David, there wasn't an endorsement, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Let's watch this other clip real quick. We got somebody else coming out, and I was like, what is happening here? Check this out.
I know that you're not a supporter of Donald Trump's. He loves your music. How did it feel when he took the lyrics to Rocket Man and he used it as a nickname for Kim Jong-un, and then he gave Kim Jong-un
I laughed. I thought it was brilliant. I just thought, good on you, Donald. I'm the Rocket Man, yeah. Donald's always been a fan of mine, and he's been to my concerts many, many times. So, I mean, I've always been friendly towards him, and I thank him for his support. Yeah, when he did that, I just thought it was hilarious. It made me laugh.
He gave Kim one of your CDs and signed it. That was in one of the books about him, because Kim, I guess, didn't know the song, so...
What's that?
He gave Kim Jong-un the signed CD.
Yes.
Which
yeah.
he'd never heard of it.
I know, because he hasn't heard of me, Kim Jong-un. I'd be very surprised if he had. I've never toured North Korea, and I have no intention of doing so. But it was. I thought it was a light moment, and it was fun.
There you have it, everybody. Elton John, good old Elton John. So in the beginning of the Elton John clip, the interviewer makes points like you don't support Donald Trump. But then he goes on. He's like, "Yeah, Donald Trump's a fan of mine. He comes to all my concerts." And so he somewhat nonchalantly didn't take the bait to bash him. Like, you can tell that interviewer setting up is like, "Hey, Elton, Donald Trump called the little Rocket Man. Don't you think you should be offended?" And Elton's like, "No, it's almost as if hating Trump is not catching on the way they wanted it to, the way it did back in 2020, and they tried in 2016. It's like." All of their mainstream media tricks that he's a dictator, he's going to lock everybody up, he's going to burn, we're going to get World War III. The economy is going to crash, guys. He's going to be awful. It's almost as if people are starting to notice that a lot of just plain Americans are like, yeah, maybe I don't, let's just pull back a little bit. Maybe you don't like Trump. Like, I keep hearing this. People are like, I think he's disgusting, but I don't want this Kamala chick. That's the main thing that you keep hearing. Now, me personally, I like Trump. I think he's awesome. I think he's hilarious. I think he's a good leader. And the more I look into his stuff, like his policies, I thought were mediocre. All right, here's the truth: if Trump turns out to be everything that Robert De Niro says is afraid he's going to be, I'd be okay with that. And so that's where I'm way off on the spectrum. I'm on I'm in a new set of the spectrum. So I like that stuff. I think that's hilarious. I think it's fun. But it seems like all of a sudden it's okay to not hate, like vehemently hate Trump. And I was like, I wonder what all this has to do. So I like to blame, like you guys know, pardon will live, we like to go after the media. Like the media is my big, like there's something about the media, them coming out and being like, oh, this Trump. But the thing that makes me the happiest is because every Sunday, except for on Labor Day that weekend, every Sunday I get on here and I'm like, guys, don't be gaslit. And we just talk about the media, we make fun of them because you know, and I know that we're not near as dumb as those people think we are. And I think it's neat to start seeing major, I would quote unquote, influencers like The Rock and like Elton John, like Hulk Hogan. I don't need them to come out and tell me they're voting for Trump. I just like the fact that Sandy's starting to kind of creep in and then just be like, yeah, you know what? Don't shoot at the guy. That's bad. And to be honest, I'm not sad that Trump's a fan of mine. And that, I don't know if you were to took these clips and played them 6 months ago, they would have been canceled. But like, oh my God, he's a dictator. But I think Gandalf showed up at the turn of the tide, guys. Gandalf the White's showing up. And I don't know who he represents, but he's showing up at the turn of the tides. It feels like it's okay to not hate Trump. And I think that's going to do wonders because Trump's biggest problem is everyone told you have to hate him. Everyone. And all the hardcore lefty camp that camp is still doing. Dude, if we take a step back and talk about the Kyle Gass thing real quick, because I didn't talk about the time, but I thought that was interesting. So if you don't know, and I'm not going to play the clip because I didn't prepare it, but right after the assassination attempt, you have Jack Black and Kyle Gass on stage, and they're playing a show, and then it's Kyle Gass's birthday, so Jack Black sings "Happy Birthday" and he blows that candle. "What do you wish for?" And Kyle Gass's remark was that he didn't miss, or he won't miss next time, or something like that. And everyone laughed because it's a tired crowd. And what do you do in that moment? Do you laugh? Like, I don't know. Like, what do you do if you're Jack Black? The audience, they paid money to see Tenacious D. I don't even know how to feel about that right at this point. Um, I can see that. I like Tenacious D. But either way, Jack Black laughs because what do you do at that point? But the correct response, I mean, I would assume would have been like, wait, what? And then that would have been just a quick, play a new song, play a song, play a song. But I guess a nervous laugh, we're getting a lot of that from Kamala. Maybe it's just spreading throughout all the left wing. So now if you ask him a legit question like, hey, all the stuff she keeps saying, why aren't they doing that now? And all left wingers just, it was a debate, and they just start laughing and cackling uncontrollably. Maybe it's contagious. They do say laughter is contagious. Is cackling contagious? Seems to be so. So I just think that's very interesting. It does feel like there's a shift in the air. And I feel like we're starting to see something that we should have saw years ago. People actually being like, yeah, maybe I don't like Trump, but I don't think he's Hitler. I don't. And the thing is, it wouldn't have been insane except for all of the media and all the I keep saying me, but you know what I'm saying. The zeitgeist was trying to propagandize you to thinking he's going to be a dictator. I know he was in there for 4 years and he didn't really do much at all, but he's gonna be a dictator. And I know, he said peacefully and patriotically go protest on January 6th, but he's gonna be a dictator, guys. And they've been kicking that dead horse. Walls has been kicking that dead horse. Just saying Walls because I like the time to any horse reference I can come up with. The left and the media and all the institutions, the whole entire institution, the whole entire thing. That's what we're talking about tonight. The big regime, whatever that is, the deep state, or if you're the globalist, if you're Alex Jones, whatever that is to you, whatever that thing is, the machine, let's call it just the machine, because it's so hard to describe because everyone has their ideas of what it is and what it's not. And so it's almost ethereal in its description. But what you can do is it's there. you might not be able to like define all the edges to who's in charge and who's doing what and who's controlling what and why are they doing it, what's their motive, and who's involved, who's not involved. It's hard to define those edges, but you do know there's something there. And that's what I think is starting to peer through the cracks. And I think it's coming at a very opportune moment right before the election. Again, I think it should have happened way long ago. A lot of us online have been saying this for years now, of being like, no, I don't think he's what you think he is. I don't think Trump is the person you think he is. And we're seeing that all. And here's one of the great things, one of the cracks that are coming through. So let me, I've got a tweet I want to show you. We're going to take a look at this. Hold on. Let me see. Nope. This one. Let's see if this pops up correctly. So on Twitter, a few days ago, we noticed a bunch of people, a bunch of famous political people coming out, and I'm gonna just scroll through this. So I'm gonna read this. It's Kyle Griffin, and this posted September 7th. What's today? The 8th? I don't even know what today is. Whatever. It was recent. It says Mike Pence isn't voting for Trump. Didn't say if he was gonna vote for Trump. It says Mitt Romney's not voting for Trump. Paul Ryan isn't voting for Trump, and Dick Cheney isn't voting for Trump, which we already knew Liz Cheney was coming out for Kamala. She just endorsed Kamala. This is very interesting, and I should have brought up the Scott Adams tweet, because with this tweet we got a ton of different reactions. We're going to look at a few of them, but Scott Adams said, he goes, this is a great example of knowing that America is watching one screen with two different stations at the same time. Because which is odd, a ton of Democrats and never Trumpers looked at this and was like, see, there's reason to not vote for Trump. Look at all these people that we know and love: Dick Cheney, Mike Pence, Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, Liz Cheney. Doesn't every Republican love Liz Cheney? And they're not voting for Trump. That should tell all these Republicans you should sit this one out, right? It should, except for the majority of Republicans are like, yeah, look, let's look at, just for an example, look, let me make sure this is showing up. You guys can see this. For example, Philip Anderson, first one that shows up. We were already voting for Trump. You don't have to convince us. Great tweet. I thought that was great, because it is. Most Trump supporters are like, dude, this just tells me I'm on the right path. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Public dissent within the party shows a healthy democratic culture. Andy No coming in with something nuanced. Love that. All four are rhinos, so it makes sense. Let's keep scrolling past ads. Kyle mistakenly thinks this hurts Trump, but it helps. Republicans are now the party of the working class of all races. These rhinos aren't welcome. SITH, whatever. Oh, crap. I liked and retweeted this. Was a pro-Trump post. You are actually serious about this. That's a great one, Tom Sawyer. I try not to. I'm not going to cuss on the podcast, but you can read it for yourself. Guys, I could keep scrolling. It's an amazing post. And I think the thing that's breaking through is, I think people who are inside the machine, or at least attached, climbing on, clenching the edge, they don't know what they're holding on to. But all of the rest of the people on the outside, all the middle Americans, all the people, all of, in every race, in every community, especially the ones up in Detroit. There was a clip that came out recently where they're at a town hall meeting, and this black lady was shouting. I don't know exactly what she was shouting at, being like, you guys, you Democrats have never done anything for us, and you tell us that we can't vote for Trump. And she was basically just railing and raving about like how the Democrats have let them down and they expect them to vote. Like, this is a movement that's happening. And I don't think it's because people like Trump. And this is the God honest truth. I think all of these people are coming like, I'm voting for Trump. And yeah, maybe they're holding their nose, maybe they're doing it, but I don't think Trump supporters are voting for Trump because they love Trump. I think Trump supporters are voting for Trump because they're terrified of that thing that we all see, that we all don't know exactly how to define. A lot of us have our ideas. We can paint those boxes and put in, but I guarantee we're slightly off. It's probably bigger than we expect, because they have all the colleges, the institutions, the lobbyists, the media, the Hollywood. They have all of this giant machine that's orchestrating telling us how we should think, how we should vote, how we should go about our elections, how we should feel about illegal immigrants, how we should feel about healthcare, how we should feel about taxes, telling you exactly what it is you think. Every Wall Street Journal post that's come out, every New York Times article telling you that there is no inflation, but yes, there is inflation, but it's a good thing. And maybe it's not a good thing, but it's your fault. All of that thing, that machine that's moving our politics forward, and not just that's bled into our culture, that thing, everyone's seeing it. It's like in the sky, and people are like, I'm not sure what that is, but whatever that is not good. And so I don't think even all of these people on Twitter, all these people, all your friends and family who don't put the Trump signs out, but will tell you, be like, yeah, man, I'm voting for Trump. All these people probably aren't voting him because they think Trump is amazing. He's huge. I don't think it's that. I think they're looking at a future of the machine and going, we just saw how they kicked Biden out behind the curtains, installed Kamala, and then pretended like we were all supposed to be joyful about it. Like everything about this is manufactured and fake. Like even their talking points when they came out was like, hey, tell all the Republicans that they're weird. Like they think you're dumb. The machine thinks you're a sheep NPC that you can't think. And to be honest, I think there are a ton of NPCs out there. And I think the machine scoops them all up. But there's just a few of us out there just being like, no, no, no. We see the lines in the sand. And there's just no way I'm crossing them. There's no way I can support that machine. And the funny thing is the people clinging to the machine have no idea they have no idea what you think, what the American person thinks. For example, the Twitter, like Dick Cheney coming out and saying he can't vote for Donald Trump. Bro, that's awesome. Like, that's awesome. We need more warmongers to come out and be like, you know what? Trump's going to keep me from bombing kids. I ain't voting for him. Yes, keep saying the thing. Let's get them all. Let's go. Let's just get them all let's get entire Washington, D.C., because they're already doing it. Be like, we can't vote for Trump. He's going to stop our climate change agenda that, we keep just whatever. It's like, I don't know if you saw, oh man, that would have been the best clip. Biden came out and slipped up. He's like, yeah, we did this. We did the best climate change, everything else. This climate change stuff we really enacted with the inflation. I mean, never mind. Yeah, we probably shouldn't have called it that. He was basically telling you that the Inflation Reduction Act was just about climate change. People are seeing the lines in the machine. You're seeing the edges. You're seeing it. And and that's a white pill. If I could ever tell you there's a white pill, even if it's this close to the election, it's a great thing. It's phenomenal. So I just want to point that out. The Rock, it's not support, but we're at the point where mainstream Hollywood types are fine with just saying, yeah, he comes to my thing. He seems like an all right guy. Didn't say I'm voting for him. Just, yeah, it seems he's okay. Elton John being like, yeah, I think it was pretty funny with the Rocket Man comment. Like, I know that seems small and minuscule, but we've been living through like 8 years of that not even being allowed. Like, and that's nuts. That's mind blowing. That's what we've been living through. And all of a sudden it's coming through. Guys, I just wanted to tell you that I think the tide's turning. And I think it's great. And I think we're moving beyond, and this is where all this to get to this one point. And we're going to dive deep in this. I'm going to give you my Avengers Assemble theory. I think we're moving on away from red and blue. I think the MAGA movement with the MAHA movement, the Democrats that are really about health, a little bit skeptical on medicine, pharma, big pharma, the Democrats that are anti-war, the Democrats that are, actually kind of like, hey, I don't know about giant corporations, but I definitely don't like giant government either. Those Democrats, those moderate Democrats, and then you have the MAGA side, the hardcore Republicans are like, yeah, I don't know. All of a sudden, Republicans are anti-war. Like, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden, they're coming together, these groups, this RFK, this Tulsi Gabbard, this Elon Musk, this your average redneck Trump supporter with the flag on his Ford truck driving down the highway. They're all coming together in this somewhat of a magical moment, something we've never seen, at least I've never seen politically and I wasn't paying attention to politics till like 2016, 18. And I can look back and we've never seen this before. Maybe with Ron Paul. That was a bit of a topsy-turvy. But the problem is the Republicans could keep him out. The cool thing about Trump is your Dick Cheneys, your George Bushes, your establishment Republicans hated the fact that Trump got in. And it's not as if they're like, well, I didn't want him to become because I wanted DeSantis, but now I'll support him. No, they still hate the fact that Trump is involved. And I have my small suspicions. Maybe it's because he's throwing wrenches in things like the war machine. That might just be one thing. Or I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it doesn't matter. Seem like all the way up to 2016, politics was played like politics. You get a Republican in, you get a little bit of Republican stuff here, there, whatever. Still the same. Roe v. Wade has been around for 50 years. Republicans aren't really going to touch that. You get a Democrat in, Obama. He's just gonna be, whatever. He's just a normal politician. You didn't bring any of the change, hope and change that you thought was just paying more for your health care. That was a sidewinder. You didn't get that. All of this, all of the right and left, the red and blue, maybe small local changes, but as far as the presidency goes, the Congress, the Senate, it kind of just seemed like all the same people. Newsflash, because it was. Carlin was right. It's a big party. You're not in it. This is a uniparty. And this is the cool thing. It was a uniparty. Like nothing really changed. Everything constantly kept moving to the left, slowly and steadily. Wars never went away. Matter of fact, they started to get expanded. Democracy wasn't enough in one place. We need to spread democracy to every place that has a lot of sand. Let's do it. So it was a uniparty this whole time. And then all of a sudden, we have an actual divide. That's not red versus blue. It's like the machine versus you. And I am struck by the concept of populism still being a pejorative to this day. Like I was on some social media app, listening, a Twitter space, listening to someone be like, "Oh, this populism thing is just, it's nonsense." This is someone who works in campaigns, has been doing it for 20 years. They know politics because it's been their career for 20 years. And they're like, "Oh, this populism thing is just not any good." Bro, this populism thing is extremely important to America because it's all of us. It's the Americans. I know people in politics look at, populism, popular, things that Americans want. Ugh, they don't know what's good for them. And they're telling that to your face. Everyone in all these politicians who snub their nose at you, like, did he even read the New York Times? Does he even have a subscription to the Times? Bro, they all think you're dumb. And the fact that you were like, hey, I want somebody that's going to represent me. And I'm not talking like looks like me or grew up in the place I grew up in or had a childhood similar to mine. No, just someone who seems to have the same interests as I do, like a border, maybe enforcement on immigration, maybe lowering gas prices through energy, maybe baby drilling sounds like good. Just that, they hate that. They hate you, and they hate the fact that you think about your interests as an American. And it's funny because the only thing that you're interested in, guys, this is why they'll never understand. This is why, and this is the defining line between, you're American and your person in politics. When you go to an election, the person in politics who runs campaigns, they're looking at how to win for their job. They're looking at like, how do I move? If I'm working for a party, a political party, Republican, Green Party, whatever, if we win, I get promoted. This goes on my resume. This is about winning a contest. This is about doing good at your job. If you're an American, this is about what kind of future are my kids going to live in? How am I going to be able to afford retirement? How am I going to be able to afford to make it to work tomorrow? Is it going to be safe for my children to go to school? Is it going to be safe for my wife to be able to shop on her own? Like, is my house going to be worth what it is now? Am I going to be able to buy a house? That's what Americans think about. Every time you hear one of these pundits on these news channels that have been working in, campaigns and in Congress, and they've rubbed shoulders with all the elites that you can think of. They're about winning a game. And that's what they hate about Americans, because Americans are not worried about winning a game. They're worried about their kids, their future, their families. That's the difference. And that's what we're seeing now. That's why you have people like RFK, literally in a speech, said, I'm worried about my kids. I'm worried about America's kids being healthy. I'm going to set aside the Democrat Party and I'm going to support Trump because I feel like at least he's looking out for Americans. At least he's looking out for Americans. And I think this populism thing that the politics they hate, and one of the things I think they hate is because they don't know how to categorize it. How do we reach every time we come out and be like, look, Scranton Joe, he's Scranton, he's from Scranton, he's just like you, he's a union guy. Don't you want to vote for him? And like, why aren't all these voters wanting to vote for Joe? He's from where they're from. Isn't this how we appeal to the populism crowd? We just tell them about identity and how he's kind of like them. Like we brought out they did this before. They're like, look at, why are all these middle Americans, these poor white trash middle Americans voting for Trump? Do they not know he's a billionaire? He's never stepped foot on a cornfield in his entire life. How do we appeal to these people? How do we get these people? I don't know. Maybe care about what they care about, like the future, instead of winning. I'm going to get to Liberty Twitcher's back, one of my favorite people. We got a comment. We're going to read it out. Actually, a lot of Americans don't think about those things anymore. They're 20-somethings who will never own a home nor have kids. I agree. They're, I don't know if I, all right, so you are right. There are a ton of Americans who don't. But I don't think those are populist Americans. If they don't think about those things, they're probably not involved in politics. They're probably worried about something else. Now, if they're 20-somethings and they're never going to, that shouldn't be. They should be thinking about it, but I assume they're not doing much about it because they can't, because they've grown up in a world they're completely powerless to. Everything that they were told has been pretty much a lie. Growing up, all the way back to like when I was going to college. I got a crash course. So I went to college, but I had a few friends that graduated college already from private college schools, and one in particular. And he came out and had to get like, I mean, this is like a private college. Like, I'm not going to give it away, but a very good degree in computer science and whatever computer program. He had to get a job at like Circuit City, and he worked there for like 5 years. And me, just starting college, was looking at him being like, I don't know about this. So I actually asked my professor. I was going to school for anthropology, and I asked him, I was like, what are my job prospects if I major in anthropology? This is what I want to do. He's like, well, you can teach, you can work for the state for like forensics and stuff like that. Or if you win the lottery a few times in a row, you can go on some kind of dig, you can go out and travel and do that stuff. But other than that, you're probably going to teach if you get a job. And I was like, that's cool. I'm out. And so I left because I had that. So I don't know. I think these kids now growing up, they're like, oh, everyone told me to go to college and now I work at Starbucks. They've been lied to this whole time. So what makes them think that anybody is not lying to them, including their family? Because everyone I grew up, family included, was like, you should go to college. It's the only thing. I was like, yeah, all right, boomers. That was your day and age. This is our day and age. Totally different. To be honest, I probably would have been better off playing video games. Half my friends who grew up playing video games, World of Warcraft and EverQuest and stuff like that, they're either Bitcoin millionaires or they write their own programs now. So I don't know, that whole you should stop playing video games and go outside and play seems like a bad choice today. Because I went outside and played, and not a Bitcoin millionaire. Let's see what Liberty Twitchers come back. We got, for the first time in American history, a huge portion of the young people want socialism. They're snowflakes and want government to coddle them. Yes, I agree. Well, I don't know. I think this has been around for quite some time. I don't think it's just these 20-year-olds or something, but I do think there's a resurgence. And I think this demographic that you're talking about might be able to be divvied up according to gender. And I know there's like 40 million genders out there, but it definitely seems like if you take one gender versus the other gender and their age group, I don't know, look those statistics up, 20-somethings, guys, girls, what are they looking to vote for? It seems like guys are very much on the Trump train. And it seems like women are very much voting to be single cat ladies. And so I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for these kids. I'm worried about them. And because I'm worried about them, I try to do stuff like this. But yes, Liberty Twitcher, the black pill is I feel awful for these kids, especially when their only avenue, it seems like, to make it is become a TikTok influencer. Do you imagine what that does to your brain? At least when we were growing up, there was no TikTok influencer. The closest thing we had were like, hey, maybe you can run into Bam Margera and be punched in the face on Jackass. Like, that was the best you were going to do to get famous. Like, that was it. Like, move to Hollywood, maybe work at waiting tables and meet Tarantino at a restaurant. But that's, maybe he'll give you a job. But I don't think any of that stuff is going to manage. We're going to come in one more time. Liberty Twitcher, the biggest question is, what does the future hold for us as the kids become the majority and vote for leftism? That's if we still have a country where you vote, because we're probably moving away from them. I'm not so much worried about the 20-somethings voting for leftism. I'm worried about people from every country that are here undocumented voting for leftism. That's to seem there's probably way more of them than there are 20-year-olds. But I think, to be honest, the 20-year-olds voting for leftism, they're probably not going to procreate as quickly as the few 20-year-olds that are not voting for leftism. So fingers crossed. All right, I got one more thing. Let me pull this in real quick. I'll say this. Liberty Twitcher, here's my answer to you. I think no matter how bad it gets, no matter how scary it gets, especially with younger age people coming up and leaning towards communism or socialism to solve all their problems. I while they may be the majority, I do not think that avenue holds up for long term. I think it's a very short term mindset. And so even if we go full on into socialism and communism in America, say it starts in November, we get a candidate, she cackles and she brings in communism. What if we get that? I think it's short lived. I do not think it lasts long. And that's just my prediction. So even worst case scenario, even all the 20-year-olds, they get up to voting age and they're running for office. By that point in time, I think they're going to get a crash course if this boat doesn't steer off the path. So maybe not. At this point in time, my faith is in Jesus, and He's given me enough talents to where I think I can survive. I think you can survive. I think everyone watching this has a decent head on their shoulders. I'm not worried about you guys. I'm worried about all the people who are just now waking up and being like, oh my God, what's happened? Where am I? Kind of taking that red pill and waking up out of the matrix. I worry about them because that's going to be a shock to their system. I do worry about the country. But again, my kingdom's not of this earth. And so no matter how bad the US gets, I don't think voting Trump in is going to save it, for whatever that means. I think it will definitely steer off course and be a better path in future. But I don't know. I don't want to go super far into that because I did want to bring up one thing. Oh, this is the reason why I don't think it'll save it. All right. Next thing. Avengers Assemble. RFK comes out. Sorry, long rant. Love Liberty Twitcher. That is a good point. I'm going to tell you about how cool this populism thing versus state thing is real quick. Avengers Assemble. There was a poster that came out. It's Captain America, Trump's Captain America, Vivek, RFK, Tulsi, all these cool Democrats building a populist movement of your average Americans, your moderate Democrats, your moderate right wingers, your far right wingers, all this coalition of Americans, people that seem like they really love the country enough to where they're somewhat courage enough to tell you the truth. Like, I don't like Trump, but I might vote for him. Like those people, the people with some spines, or there's C.S. Lewis would call them people with chests. Something like that. People standing up, and those people I'm really counting on. There's probably not a lot of them, but I think courage is more contagious than cackling, and I think that's going to help America. Now, the cool thing about the populism thing, I'm going to give you my quick theory about this. The poster with Trump being Captain America, all the Avengers this is very much more reminiscent. Instead of the Avengers Assemble, this is very much more reminiscent. I can't believe I'm about to say this, to Captain America Civil War. Now, side rant for all the nerds out there, you're going to love this. For everyone who didn't pay attention to Marvel because they think it's dumb, sorry about you. But Captain America Civil War is one of the best Marvel movies that have ever come out. Quick synopsis. Something terrible happens, and it's because the Avengers were trying to help a situation end up turning bad. Tony Stark gets a guilty conscience, like feels white guilt. And he's like all these privileges as a white male, technocrat. He gets a weird hair in his thing and says, no, we as the Avengers need to be regulated. Your old boy, Captain America, is like, no, we're too powerful. I think we can make the decisions on who to save, how to save them better than the government can. And I hate to tell you, he was the good guy in this movie. Either way, this is a big division in the Avengers. You got Hawkeye, you got Captain America, Black Widow, the Hulk, all these, they all split up into two factions. Ones that are thinking the state, the government, the global government needs to control the Avengers and what they can and can't do, how powerful they are and how powerful they can't be. And then you have your rebels, you're on the fringes, the ones running from the government now because they believe that the Avengers, Captain America and his buddies, don't trust the government enough to hand their powers over to them just to do as they're told. That's the main concept behind Captain America Civil War. Now you have the Avengers split up, and now they're fighting and battling. I don't know how to put this anymore, but if you were to take Dick Cheney, George Bush, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, Joe Biden, all of the media, all of that, and you were like, which one of the categories do these fit in? Not hard, Tony Stark, and the state. This is the machine I was talking about. This is the machine. Now, your Captain America, your Black Widow, your Falcon, Bucky, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. All of them, they're the populism group. That would be pretty much that's the Trump camp. Like that's the RFK is that makes sense. I don't think side rant. I do not think Trump is Captain America. Let me explain why. Because he's the Winter Soldier. Trump doesn't portray himself as Captain America. I do not think he's Captain America. Trump falls more in line with the Winter Soldier, Bucky. And the reason I say that is because Bucky in this movie is wrongfully accused. Oh, the Winter Soldier, the one Captain America Winter Soldier. He's in a trance. He's trained by the Soviets to make assassinations. He does a ton of bad stuff. So the government's trying to find the Winter Soldier and take him out, Captain America included, who later finds out that's his friend who's, took in the super soldier serum, has a fake arm. Anyway, Captain America thinks he can save him. But Bucky has been wrongfully accused of things that he could not control, that he couldn't do anything with. So he's made to be out to be the bad guy. Like right off the bat, he's the bad guy, he's the enemy. When really he's not. He ends up being a good guy. Not even an anti-villain, a good guy. He's the Winter Soldier. Like he's Bucky Barnes. He ends up being the good guy. Trump falls way more in that category than he does Captain America. And you're like, okay, David, that seems fairly logical because the whole thing in Civil War is Tony Stark finds out Tony Stark would be the emblem of the state in this Civil War concept. Finds out that old Winter Soldier took out his dad and his parents. And so he's emotionally attached to wanting to take this guy out, even though Bucky was accused of killing the King of Wakanda. That wasn't him, but in the past was under trance and did take out because he was controlled by the Soviets at the time. So it's this. So really, it's not about we need to control Captain America because he's on the run. It's really they're just trying to get Bucky. Like Iron Man just wants to kill the Winter Soldier. The state just wants to make sure Trump doesn't get reelected, doesn't get away with it. Even up to the point where they try and take our boy out. And so Trump is way more Bucky Barnes in the Winter Soldier than he ever would be Captain America. Now, your next logical thing, I know what you're thinking. Who are all the other characters? Not going to do it. I mean, you could take the easy route and say, Vance would be Falcon, his trusty sidekick. That seems kind of odd. At least give Vivek the Falcon stance because he's brown. That makes sense. But no, I don't know. I don't know any of the other characters. Maybe Black Widow, that would make sense. Black Widow would definitely be Tulsi Gabbard. Honestly, I don't know. Elon Musk, he would have to be like what Vision? I don't know. Yeah, that sounds about right. Elon Musk would definitely be Vision. Half robot, half man. Yeah, nope, totally makes sense. That one does nail probably more than the Trump Winter Soldier thing. Anyway, who's Captain America? That's the big question. Who is Captain America? Who's the guy that's coming out trying to, defend Trump? Like constantly taking bullets because it seems like they want to get through him, get to Bucky, and then lock up the old Captain America. He's the main character. It's the name of the movie is Captain America Civil War. Who's Captain America? Who's this person that we should be looking at that's on Team Bucky, on Team Trump, that's doing all this, that's leading the way? Who is in control? Who's that guy? Who's that Captain America? Lo and behold, it's you. It's the American people. It's the populism. Trump's not Captain America, you are. Like, that's what it is. That's the analogy. Trump's the Winter Soldier, and they're trying to take him out. And they're trying to get rid of him. They're trying to make sure he doesn't do anything. And they're putting all this fake stuff on him, trying to blame him for everything. They're just trying to turn the state completely after him. But Captain America is the one that constantly is going, no, I don't believe you. I don't think so. I trust him. He's my friend. He seems to do the right thing. I'm not sure. Is he under trance? Is he not? Doesn't matter. We're not taking him out. We're not going to take him off the ballot. We're not just going to take him off stage. We're not going to let you just lock him up without a say. We're not just going to fall in line with your propaganda. Guys, the American people, the populism, that group of people, the Mahas, the MAGAs, your Democrat moderates, they're like, God, this is getting kind of weird. Guys, that's Captain America. Anyway, I know that's a mind-blowing, and it's not really. It's just a cool analogy. What this really says is I've spent way too much time watching Marvel movies and thinking about this. But that's my theory. It's Captain America. You're Captain America in the story. Trump is the Winter Soldier, and this is Civil War. Ding, ding, ding. I should put that in the title. Would get a ton of views. Anyway, thought we would do this one more time. If you don't believe me, you're like, I don't think this Kamala person is that bad. I've got a clip to show you. But before I do that, real quick, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Let me let me tell you what I've been up to. So, I was not here last week. I told you guys that real quick. I'm not going to spend, this is a bit of an ad read, but it's the newest project I've been up to. Quick synopsis. So you don't know this, but I'm an artist. I mean, you do know this. Obviously, I talk about it all the time. So like and subscribe. Go to pardonworld.com. Support the podcast. Support the show. Support me financially by buying art, buying merch, buying music, whatever it is. Well, your boy can't stop spinning plates. I'm notoriously bad for overdoing everything. It's not like I can just do a podcast and pretend like that's going to keep me going. Nope. I keep picking up projects and dropping them. So about 7 years ago, at this point, which sounds like a long time ago, big fan of D&D, played with a bunch of friends, then moved and started playing online, and just always a big fan of it. But one of the things about D&D is I like the swords, I like the dragons, it's fun. I love Lord of the Rings, big fan. But there was just something I was like, there could be something cool about this. So I set out to embark to make something very similar to D&D, but I wanted to make it in the Victorian era because that's my favorite era. I love Sherlock Holmes. I love Frankenstein. I love Dorian Gray. I love the late 1800s. I not just like England, Victorian. I love 1800s Westerns. Like that's just my jam. That time period deserves a rock and roll tabletop RPG. Lo and behold, I decided to make one. And that was like 7 years ago. Built it up, played a little bit, set it on the shelf to work on other things because it's a long, tedious process, a lot of math, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of working out things and how it works, how it does. And so every about 2 years, I'd pick it back up, refresh my memory on it a little bit, and then play around with it, and then set aside to work on the next project, the next thing I'm doing, Pardonable Podcast, whatever. And then so recently, about a year ago, I finished my art book, art and poetry. This guy. So if you really want to support me, you can go buy this book. It's got my art and my poetry in it. It's a great book, great for meditating. I finished that up and I said, what's going to be the next big thing I work on? And pulled it up. So it is called, let me tell you guys, it's called Flintlock and Fog. And if you go to flintlockandfog.com, it'll take you to this website. So this is the tabletop RPG that I've been working on. And there's not a lot going on here. It says, welcome to Flintlock, the tabletop role-playing game that transport you to the gaslit streets of the late 1800s where the air is thick with mystery and the characters of your favorite novels roam the alleyways. So basically, it's just like that. It's like D&D, but take all of the favorite fictional things, your fictional stuff, like I said, your Sherlocks, and some of your historical stuff like Jack the Ripper, vampires, werewolves, Chupacabra if you want. But mostly like your Dorian Gray stories, your Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, all of these possibilities in the Victorian age, and throw that in the game. But not just that. One of the reasons why it's taken me so long is I made all of the items and stuff historically accurate. So instead of just like, it's a shadow sword from the 9th realm, it's like, no, it's a Henry flintlock. Like this is a Henry model 1836 flintlock. Like everything's historically accurate. The ammo is pretty much historically accurate, and the game the game actually functions totally different than your D&D because it's a lot of social settings. Your characters are sort of similar. Like there's instead of being like, well, he's a mage and a paladin and a warlock or whatever. It's just more logical. Like you have someone who studies an investigation, someone who studies medicine, someone who's a spiritualist, someone who's, and works in these very like, if you were a cool superhero in the 1800s, what would be your study? What would be your vocation? Split it up, and those are the classes. Everything's historic, and I made it to where it's universally, you can do anything in this time period. So if you're like, hey, London's cool, but I don't want to play that. I want to do something fun. You can actually take this game, set up a quest in the Wild West, and do the Oregon Trail or something, whatever you want. So anyway, that's the project I've been working on. Oh my God, that was a long rant. Just to let you know, I've started beta testing. This is why it's coming out. Got the website up. Go there. You can sign up for a newsletter. Put your email down at the bottom, hit it, and then I'm going to let you know. So I'm beta testing it now with a few friends of mine. I'm recording them, chopping them up. I'm going to be putting them out on the YouTube, but there will be some beta test videos I'm not going to put up there. I'm just going to send them to you via the newsletter before I do any kind of Patreon thing, whatever. So that's going to be up. You can actually watch the beta test, see how it's coming together. And if you sign up for the newsletter and you want to participate, like, hey, have you added boomerangs? I'll be like, oh, snap, I haven't. Let me add that. What do you think? And be involved in this. This is why I brought it up now before I published it, because we're going to move to a Kickstarter. And so all of you listening, you can be involved. If you're a big fan of D&D and you're like, I absolutely love Sherlock Holmes, go and do the newsletter and you'll be involved and be able to watch this whole process come about all the way up to the Kickstarter and publishing. And then, I mean, it's not like you just publish the book and you're done. It'll be quest after quest after quest after quest that you can all participate in and get them. Anyway, I'm not going to rant any longer. That's the big thing I'm walking on. All right, back to the state for issue. Sorry about that rant. Back to the state for issue. Here's a clip that popped up today, I think, or the other day. I want you to watch this. So everyone's going on about like all this Kamala talk. It's not that bad. Yeah, price controls seem kind of communistic, but is it really going to happen? I don't know. And then we had a major event, a school shooting. And of course, like your reactionary Democrats, lefties, statists, they only have one solution. So let's watch this clip. I actually haven't watched this full clip. So I don't know. Maybe I'm in for it. We'll find out. Check this out.
Should she also be, in your opinion, supporting a mandatory gun buyback program?
Listen, we're not going to be able to get where we need to go without action in Congress. We've got to pass some laws to deal with this. Now, I was heartened by the fact that 2 years ago we finally did a gun safety law, the Safer Communities Act, and it was the first gun safety law we passed in 30 years. 30 years. And it was modest, but it did save lives. But clearly, in the wake of what happened just the other day in Winder, Georgia, it's not enough. And the least we can do is move forward on the bipartisan spaces where ordinary people agree. Clearly, there's a disconnect between what the people, the American people, want and what they're able to get out of their government. Again, 87% of Americans believe in background checks. And yet I hear politicians say that it's not guns who kill people, it's people who kill people. And yet we don't even want to know who those people are. We won't even support.
Senator, just yes or no, though. Should she support the mandatory buyback program? Just a yes or no.
Listen, look, as a pastor, I've done buyback programs. You can pick this issue or that issue. But I think that, again, there's not one single thing that will make all of this go away.
He didn't answer. But I can tell you what he was thinking. I'm going to go with he was thinking, yeah. So that was just another thing that's popped up. And I was waiting for something, not something terrible to happen, but I was waiting for the gun issue to bring up. And so price controls are one thing. But when I know gun buyback programs, that seems like, well, that they've been doing that for years. Yeah, but they haven't made them mandatory. What do you think that means? What do you think mandatory gun buyback program is? And you're like, David, you're just fear. No, this sounds like something they've thought about, they're talking about, and they think the American people are like, yeah, force all the people who have guns to give their guns up because, it's extra dough. Like it's extra money. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't all these Republican MAGA gun-toting people, why wouldn't they give up their guns freely for some extra cash? It's got to be hard out there, doesn't it? Yeah, guys. Mandatory gun buybacks is not a good sign. It's not a good sign for our nation. Neither is price controls. Everything outside of what Kamala steals from Trump, like no taxation on tips, all of her own original ideas and all of her the machine. When the machine has an original idea, it's never good. It's never even things I can get on here and be like, you know what? She's kind of making a point on that one. Nope. If she didn't take it from Trump, and let's be honest, I said this before, the no tax on tips, Trump stole that from Ron Paul. And Ron Paul went way beyond that one. but he's just getting his. And if Trump's pulling him from Ron Paul and Kamala's pulling him from Trump, there might be hope for America. But I guarantee after this election that whole no tax on tips is going out your window. Helping the lower class is going out your window. And the reason is because the things that they really want to do have nothing to do with how you feel, because it's the machine versus you. And you know they don't care about your feelings because they don't even care to listen. And they're not even paying attention. They all think, I don't know, what do they think? RFK got paid by Trump to switch over? They didn't listen to his speech. They didn't pay attention. They don't see Tulsi. Why would Tulsi Gabbard? Well, why is Elon Musk? Guys, why is Mark Zuckerberg coming out and being like, yeah, Trump got said he looks kind of cool doing that? Why is the tide shifting? The machine's either noticing it and they're giving you a heads up, like, we don't like this. We don't like that the American people are thinking, that they're having feelings and thoughts. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure if those feelings and thoughts get out of hand, we'll stomp it down. Guys, next week, I'm going to try, if we don't get a big news week, I'm going to give you my predictions about how things are about to go down. But we have a debate, so I'm going to have to talk about that. The debate, we're definitely going to have clips, I'm sure. We're going to talk about the debate. But, this is on Sunday. The debate's on, Tuesday. They pushed Trump's sentencing back, which I had this whole idea how this whole election process was going to go. That was different. I did not see that happening. I definitely thought they were going to keep it, and I definitely thought they were going to sentence Trump. So I'm wrong on that one, but I would like to put out a prediction at least somewhat closer to the election. Maybe after the debate, we'll see. I will be back here next week. Go to Flintlock and Fog, sign up for the newsletter. Tell me about your thoughts. Like, hey, this is great, but you know what? The one thing Flintlock and Fog is missing is Dungeons and Dragons. And then I'll be like, you know what? You might be right about that one. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Hope you have a great week. Don't forget, all politics aside, the world's going to continue to go. And we just got to keep looking for the future that we want to live in. So participate the way you want the future to be. That's what I'll say. And that sounds like a cliche thing, but it's getting harder out there for everybody. I'm not just talking like financially. It's getting harder out there just to have the courage to say, yeah, Trump might not be so bad. And so if you want to see a world where you don't actually have to just hate politicians because Morning Joe tells you to, start doing stuff like that, encouraging your coworkers, your family. Be like, hey, I know you don't like Trump, but he ain't Hitler. And we saw what he was going to do. You don't have to. Just tell people. People love that. Give them the Trump pass. Slip them a Trump pass. Be like, hey, you don't got to tell me you're voting for him. You don't have to say you hate him all the time. You don't got to do it. You don't got to come out and be like, oh, these Trumpers are going to ruin it. You calm it down. You don't have to do that. You don't. You can let that bird repent. Let that fly right off of you. Life is great on this side. Life is great. That manufactured joy Kamala keeps trying to tell you that you're going to have getting your guns bought off of you by the government, you don't got to pretend anymore. Over here, we're just real. We don't say we like him. We don't say we don't like him. We just say, hey, he comes to my concerts every once in a while, and it seems like he makes funny jokes about Rocket Man. Anyway, that's the world I want to live in. Go out there, be that for everybody else. And I'll see you back here. Oh, going to be dropping a beta test of Flintlock hopefully this week. We'll see if that is. Keep like and subscribe to this channel. The YouTube especially. On Twitter, it's Flintlock and Fog. On Instagram, it's Flintlock and Fog. Sign for the newsletter. All that stuff be coming out. That way you can keep up to date. I'm going to keep talking about it. So if you're like, God, I'm so sick of this Flintlock and Fog talk, sorry about you. Anyway, love you guys. Hope you have a great week. God bless you.